Hey ladies, it's so good to have you here. Whether you're tuning in from your bedroom, car, or on your walk with your headphones in, this conversation is going to change the way you see your man's secret desires. Because today, we're diving into something that doesn't get talked about enough, but is on every man's mind. And before you roll your eyes or assume this is just another what men want in bed cliche, hear me out. We often think of men as these open books when it comes to sex. We assume they'll just say what they want, ask for it, demand it even. But the truth? So many men walk around with silent desires, kinks, fantasies, little things they've imagined late at night but would never say out loud. Not because they don't want to experience them, but because they're scared. Scared you'll judge them. Scared it will be too much. Scared it will ruin how you see them. And that's what makes this topic so powerful. Because when a man has a fantasy he doesn't voice, and you create the kind of connection where he feels safe enough to explore it with you, that's where real intimacy is born. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 kinky things men secretly want to try in bed, but are too shy to ask for. And more importantly, I'm going to show you what each of these desires really means about how he feels toward you. Ready? Let's dive in. You might think that men always want to be the one in control when it comes to intimacy. After all, society has conditioned us to believe that masculinity is about taking charge, making the first move, being the dominant force in the bedroom. But here's the truth that most men won't say out loud. A lot of them secretly crave the opposite. They fantasize about you taking control, not because they want to give up their masculinity, but because for once they want to experience what it's like to surrender in a space that feels safe, passionate, and exciting. When a man desires for you to take the lead, it's not about flipping roles permanently or becoming submissive in some dramatic way. It's about the psychological relief that comes from letting go. In his day-to-day life, he's probably making decisions constantly. He's navigating pressure, responsibility, expectations, and he might even feel like he's got to have it all together all the time, especially around you. But when he's with you intimately, he doesn't want to have to think so hard. He wants to feel. He wants to trust you enough to relax and be vulnerable. And when you step up, when you guide him, touch him with purpose, whisper what you're going to do to him, or push him back on the bed and take your time, he experiences something most men rarely get: the permission to surrender. This isn't about power in a cold or rigid way. It's about trust, connection, and playfulness. It's the moment when you grab his wrists and hold them down, when you straddle him and say, "Don't move," when you lead the kiss, start the pace, or even initiate something he didn't expect. You instantly flip a switch in him. He's not just turned on, he's enchanted, because in that moment, he's not just seeing a sexy woman. He's seeing your confidence, your desire, your wild side. And that tells him he's deeply wanted. And here's the powerful part. Most men won't ever tell you they want this. They won't admit they fantasize about it. Why? Because they're afraid it'll make them seem weak or strange. But when a man wants you to take control, he's not saying he's weak. He's saying he trusts you, that he feels safe enough with you to be vulnerable. And that, ladies, is one of the most intimate things a man can offer. So don't wait for him to say it. Try something small. Guide his hands. Take the first move. Whisper in his ear what you want. Be playful. Tease him. Flip the script. Because the moment you show him that you want to take control, and you do it with confidence and care, you unlock a side of him that few women ever get to see. And trust me, that's the side of him that once you awaken, he'll never want to hide again. Let's talk about one of the most quietly thrilling fantasies a man can have: being tied up. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait, isn't that something men usually want to do to us? That's the stereotype. But the reality is, a surprising number of men fantasize about being on the receiving end of that experience. And the reason why goes much deeper than you might expect. When a man thinks about being tied up, he's not just thinking about the ropes or restraints. He's thinking about surrender. He's imagining what it would feel like to be completely at your mercy, to be unable to touch you, unable to anticipate what you're going to do next, to have every sense heightened because his body is limited and all he can do is feel. That's where the real power of this fantasy lies, not in the act itself, but in what it represents. Trust, vulnerability, and sensory immersion. See, most men walk around constantly in control, They're taught to be in charge, to keep it together, to solve problems and never show weakness. But in the bedroom, some of that control becomes a weight. And when you, the woman he deeply desires, offer him a moment where he doesn't have to control everything, where he can just be present, feel pleasure, and be cared for, it's like giving him emotional oxygen. It's not about domination or humiliation. It's about creating a space where he can feel everything without having to do anything. Now, here's the key. Most men will never ask for this. Even if it's at the top of their fancy list, they're afraid it'll come off as weird or they'll be judged. They don't want to seem weak or worse, like they're giving up their masculinity. But when you bring it up, even just lightly, playfully, it gives them permission to lean into that fantasy without fear. It tells him, I see you, I get you, and I want to explore this with you. And this doesn't have to be intense or extreme. You don't need ropes and blindfolds and a whole 50 Shades starter kit. It could be as simple as taking a scarf or a tie and gently holding his wrists above his head. It could be whispering, don't move, while you run your hands over his body. It's about the feeling of power exchange and, more importantly, the trust that makes it possible. When you offer to take control like that and he allows it, something magical happens. He stops performing, he stops overthinking, and he starts experiencing. Every touch, every kiss, every breath becomes more intense. He's not just turned on, he's entranced. And it's all because you created a space where he could feel that kind of freedom. So if you're even a little curious, take the lead. Be gentle, be playful, test the waters. And if he responds, you've just opened the door to one of the most intimate, erotic experiences of his life, one he'll never forget and will always want more of. This one is easily one of the biggest turn-ons for a man. And yet, it's one of the least talked about because most women don't realize just how powerful it is. I'm talking about the fantasy of watching you touch yourself. Now, I know, for a lot of women, the idea might feel uncomfortable at first. Maybe you've been conditioned to see your own pleasure as something private or even something you're supposed to keep hidden. But to a man, watching you in that moment isn't just sexy, it's mesmerizing, it's intimate, it's emotionally disarming. And for many guys, it's something they fantasize about constantly, but almost never ask for. Why? Because it's vulnerable for you. And that's exactly what makes it so irresistible to him. He knows that for you to do that in front of him, you have to feel safe, you have to feel confident, you have to feel completely uninhibited. And that's what turns him on more than anything else. Not just the visual, but what it means, that you trust him enough to fully let go in front of him. This fantasy taps into something deep in a man's psychology. It gives him access to something he rarely sees, your raw desire. When you're in that space, completely immersed in your own pleasure, not performing for him, but doing it for you, it's like watching a secret world unfold. It's the most honest version of your sexuality. And for a man who genuinely cares about you, and wants to please you, there is nothing more magnetic. It also relieves a pressure he might not even realize he's carrying. A lot of men, whether they talk about it or not, feel an immense amount of responsibility to be the one who delivers pleasure. They think it's their job to do it to you. So when you show that you can take charge of your own arousal, that you're comfortable owning your body and expressing your desires, it's both a relief and a huge turn on. It says, I know what I like, I'm not afraid to feel it, and I want you to witness it. Now, again, most men won't ask for this, even if it's at the top of their fantasy list, because they don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or like you're being put on display. So this is where your confidence comes in. If you initiate, even in the smallest, most subtle way, you'll blow his mind. You don't need to put on a show. It doesn't have to be dramatic or cinematic. Sometimes it can start with a simple suggestion. Do you want to watch me? Or I want you to see how you make me feel. That's it. Just those words alone will melt him. Because what you're really saying is, I trust you with this private moment. And that's something men rarely get. The bottom line, when you're willing to let him in, to truly let him see you, he doesn't just feel turned on. He feels honored. Like he's been given access to something sacred. And that is the kind of moment he'll never stop thinking about and always crave more of. Let me let you in on a secret. Men don't just want to feel your body. They want to feel your words. And I'm not talking about sweet nothings or generic compliments. I'm talking about praise. I'm talking about dirty talk. I'm talking about the kind of affirmations that don't just stroke his ego, they light his entire body on fire. And the pleasure that creates is not just physical, it's psychological, emotional, and unforgettable. So the next time you sense he's craving that experience, when his eyes linger, when his body is open and waiting, try leading. Tell him, don't move until I say. Or take his hands and place them where you want them. Show him you're in control. Because when you dominate with desire and confidence, you're not just satisfying a fantasy, you're awakening a part of him that's been longing to come out. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Men may act like they've got it all figured out in the bedroom, like they're always confident, always in control, always the one with the bold fantasies. But the truth, most of them are walking around with secret desires they've never had the courage to speak aloud because they're worried they'll be judged, laughed at, or misunderstood. And you have so much more power than you realize, because when you step into your confidence, when you bring just a little curiosity, playfulness, and emotional safety to the bedroom, you become the woman he feels he can finally explore those parts of himself with. You become the one who doesn't just satisfy him physically, you unlock parts of his masculinity that no one else ever touched. And trust me, that's the kind of experience a man never forgets. Remember, these kinky desires aren't about performance. They're about connection. They're about trust. They're about showing up as your most bold, curious, and feminine self and meeting his vulnerability with openness and adventure. So try something new. Surprise him. Whisper that fantasy. Take the lead. Make it playful. Make it yours. And if there's one thing you do tonight, let it be this. Give yourself permission to be the woman who doesn't just wait for excitement, she creates it. And if this video opened your eyes or made you feel inspired to explore new levels of intimacy and confidence with your man, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more real, raw dating advice, and leave a comment below. Tell me which of these turned you on just reading about it. You might be surprised how many women are thinking the exact same thing. You've got the power, now go use it. Most men walk through life starving for affirmation, whether they admit it or not. Out in the world, they're expected to be confident, composed, and always in control. But deep down, most guys have a hidden question running through their mind during intimacy. Am I enough? Am I pleasing her? Does she really want me? And here's the crazy part. Many of them never get a clear answer because we've all been taught to let the moans, the breathing, the subtle signals do the talking. But men, they need more. They want to hear it. So when you say something bold, something specific, something raw, it doesn't just boost his confidence. It unlocks a version of him that's bolder, more connected, more wildly into you than ever before. Praise and dirty talk aren't just about turning him on. They're about making him feel seen, powerful, and desired in a way that wordless touch alone can't deliver. When you whisper, you feel so good inside me, or I've wanted you all day, or even something as simple as, God, you drive me crazy. You're doing more than just setting the mood. You're reaching right into his core and telling him, you are wanted. You're doing everything right. I love this side of you. And it doesn't even have to be all dirty. Praise can be emotional, affectionate, even playful. Telling him, I love how strong your hands feel on me, or the way you look at me makes me melt, connects physical pleasure to emotional intimacy. And that, especially during sex, is a powerful combination. Now, here's why this is secretly one of his fantasies, because men rarely get it. Think about it. We, as women, are used to hearing things like, you're so beautiful, you turn me on, I love the way you feel. But how often does a man hear those things about himself? Not just that he's attractive, but that what he's doing is driving you wild, that you can't get enough of him, that he's making you lose control. When that happens, when he hears those words in the heat of the moment, it amplifies everything, his confidence, his passion, and his desire to please you. It all multiplies, because now he knows, he's not guessing, he's not hoping, he knows he's rocking your world. And that's one of the most erotic experiences a man can have. So don't hold back. Say the things you're thinking. Praise him, tease him, tell him what you want and how he's making you feel. Because when your words match your desire, you become completely irresistible. Now, this one might surprise you because most men won't admit to it unless you really get them to open up. But deep down, a lot of men have this quiet burning fantasy to escape reality for a moment and step into a different world with you. And the way they imagine doing that? Role play. We're not talking about Oscar-worthy performances or elaborate costumes, although that can be fun too. What men truly crave is the psychological escape that role play provides. It's the idea that for just a moment, he's not your boyfriend or your husband or the guy you've been with for years. He's a stranger at a bar, a teacher, a firefighter, a boss, and you're someone else too. You're mysterious, confident, flirtatious, untouchable, or maybe the one in control. And suddenly the normal rules don't apply anymore. What this does is awaken something powerful in a man's mind, curiosity. It shakes him out of the routine. It resets the script. Because as much as men love emotional connection, they also crave novelty. And roleplay, even in its simplest form, gives him that novelty without the risk or chaos of real life. It keeps things exciting while still being rooted in trust. But here's the twist. Most men are too shy to ask for it. Why? Because they think you'll laugh, or worse, that you'll judge them, that it'll feel silly or forced. And so the fantasy stays in their mind, never spoken, never explored. And yet when you initiate it, even playfully, it feels like you've just given him the ultimate gift. It tells him you're confident, adventurous, and most importantly, that you want to explore with him. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as walking into the room and saying, "Hi, I think you're in my seat," or texting him, "Tonight, you're not my boyfriend. You're the hot guy I'm meeting at the hotel bar." That's it, just a hint of a story, a little game. And instantly, his imagination kicks in. You've given him permission to step outside reality and step into a fantasy where anything is possible. Roleplay works so well because it's not about pretending to be someone else. It's about discovering new sides of each other. When you give him a chance to explore that kind of playful dynamic with you, he doesn't just feel turned on, he feels connected, seen, alive. It's a reminder that even if you've been together for months or years, there are still parts of you he hasn't explored yet. And he wants to. So don't overthink it, just play. Be bold. Let yourself be a little silly, a little flirty, a little mysterious. Because when you do, you tap into something primal and exciting. And you'll watch him light up in a way you haven't seen before. And once he gets a taste of that world with you, trust me, he'll never want to leave. Let's end with one of the biggest surprises of all. The secret fantasy many men hold but are too afraid to say out loud. They want to be dominated, yes, really. And not in the cartoonish way it's often portrayed. This is about surrendering, but in a deeply respectful, passionate, trust-filled way that allows him to fully let go. You see, we often assume that men want to be in charge, to call the shots, to take control between the sheets. And sometimes they do. But what most people don't realize is that the opposite is also incredibly arousing for a very different reason. When a woman confidently takes the lead, tells him what to do, holds his face in her hands and says, "You're mine tonight," something flips in his brain. His usual role, the pressure, the need to perform, it all melts away, and what replaces it is pure electric desire. Being dominated isn't about weakness for him. It's about intensity. It's about feeling. When he's with a woman who owns her sensual power, who isn't afraid to say what she wants, how she wants it, and exactly when, he's not intimidated. He's captivated. It's not just that you're telling him what to do. It's that you're showing him that you know what you want. And that is deeply, deeply sexy to a man who wants to please you. This can look different for every couple. It might be you pinning his hands above his head. It might be you sitting on top of him and whispering that he doesn't get to touch you unless you say so. It might be you making the first move and guiding his hands exactly where you want them. The point isn't the act, it's the energy. It's you stepping into that moment with certainty, desire, and zero hesitation. Now, here's why most men won't ask for this, even if it's burning in the back of their minds. They're scared it will make them seem less masculine. They worry you'll lose respect for them, that they'll be seen as submissive or soft. But in truth, it's the opposite. When a man trusts you enough to hand you the reins, even temporarily, it shows an extraordinary level of confidence in both himself and in you. And when you take control, not aggressively, but sensually, intentionally, with care, he doesn't feel small. He feels safe, desired, chosen. He feels like he can just feel